TT Meets TT Season 2 Episode 2, Die Schlimme Schlamper, or The Bad Bitch. Hi all, Andy here and welcome back to another episode of TT Meets TT, and this week it's Andrew all the way from Washington State in the USA. Now Andrew's got a very unique car and he got in touch with me at the channel asking if I'd like to showcase it. So when I saw it I couldn't really refuse. There's some great mods to look at and it really is a unique car, so let's sit back and let Andrew tell us all about it. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to give it a thumbs up because it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Right, onto the video. So thanks for joining us tonight. I am here with Andrew. Andrew's all the way from the US, so welcome Andrew, how are you doing?
Doing very good, thanks for having me on.
We're here tonight to talk about this fantastic car of yours, which you got in touch with me maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago, and you said you'd like to feature your car on TT Meets TT. And as soon as I saw that car, I thought, yeah, we got to get that guy on, and we got to share that car with the viewers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Schlimme Schlamp?
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out sooner or later. Die Schlimme Schlamp, Die Schlimme Schlampe. I feel like it just depends on what side of the pond you're on, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah. So where did that name come from?
So I have German heritage in my family and stuff, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of one reason behind it. And I also kind of wanted to find a name that just kind of rolled off the tongue, something that was really cool to say, but in German. But trying to find something cool in German to say in English is extremely hard. So I tried a few names here and there. I actually went into Google Translator and started typing in a bunch of stuff that I could think of. And honestly, that's the one that spit out and I was happy with. And it was easy to say. That was the other big part too.
Absolutely. And the English translation for the Schlimme Schlamp is?
The bad bitch.
Yeah.
The bad bitch. And trust me, she is one bad bitch.
So why don't we take a closer look at Die Schlimme Schlamper in action in its home state of Washington. So when you picked up that car, I mean, what we're looking at now is a completely modified Audi TT Mark 1. But am I right in saying when you bought that car, it was completely stock?
Absolutely. We're talking, I'll just kind of go over some of the basics with it. When I got it, it's an 04 Audi TT. It's a 180. It's got the Kalo 3S on it. I bought it in 2015. And this was always, I'll be honest, this was one car that I've always wanted my entire life. Like I grew up playing video games and stuff, and there's cars you can financially get a hold of, and financially you got to be, you know, rich as hell in order to own them. So I played a lot of the Need for Speed games back when I was a kid, and I really just fell in love with the Audi TT, the Mark 1. But the thing is, over here, I mean, you obviously know, and I know you've heard from a bunch of people over here, that it's kind of hard to see them nowadays. Like sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. I mean, it's pretty rare if you see one, let alone parked one in a parking lot, you know what I mean? So at least where I live, there's maybe a handful of them, maybe 7 or 8, maybe 9 or so, you know.
So the car was completely stock when you got it. Now, let's talk through some of those mods. Now, the most obvious visual mod for me, as we've already mentioned, is those doors. I mean, did you do those doors? Have you done those doors yourself?
So a lot of the stuff I've had a lot of garage help with. There's been 2 shops around here in town that have helped me out immensely. Lambo doors.
Lambo doors.
Vertical doors, Lambo doors. I did have a shop help me with those. There's a shop here in the States called Vertical Doors Inc., and that's where I bought the kit from. And believe it or not, it's a kit that actually just goes onto your car. Most of those kits, you have to extend the factory wire loom out, you know, because when you obviously extend the door out, it goes out that the factory wire loom won't reach. Cool thing about TT, you don't have to extend the factory wire loom. It all just it just bolts up and everything. The only thing is, though, one thing we didn't realize is that there's a basically where the door hinge sits, it knocks right into where the windshield fluid reservoir is. And so I actually had to pull that out and had a custom one made to make room for the door, for the actual hinge to go up like it does. And so I basically had one custom fabbed at a fab shop and had that sucker put in, and yeah, the rest is history.
I think you mentioned that the car often gets mistaken as a Porsche.
All the time. The time. I have the car completely debadged. There's no Audi logos or anything like that on the outside of it. Now, on the inside, still got the stock steering wheel, so it's still got the 4 rings right there. But that's the only thing really now that will give it away that it's an Audi.
And I've also noticed it's got a very interesting set of decals on the outside. So on the doors, on the back, lots of sponsors. So I guess those sponsors aren't paying you any money to be on the car.
No. That's just ironically, when I had the vision for the wrap and the general like artistic concept for the car, I knew I wanted to do some kind of city skyline. I just didn't know exactly how I wanted it done. I had the idea in mind. I had the flow in mind, because if you notice, it kind of like scales up towards the back of the car. Yeah. And that's kind of how I wanted it, so that way I could put like the manufacturer logos and stuff like that on the car. And believe it or not, all those logos that are on the car, those pieces are actually on the car.
Do you want to talk me through some of the modifications you've made?
Okay, well, buckle in, because this is quite a list. New speed cold air intake, which goes into factory KO3S, which we actually replaced 2 years ago. When we put the intercooler, the big front mount on it, still has all stock internals, stock rods, stock pistons, stock everything on the internals. It's got a Grams performance intake, stock throttle body. It's also got a larger turbo inlet pipe, full exhaust, lots of polyurethane mounts that you can think of. You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff's been replaced. We have one of my favorite parts of the car is it's a key fob, or it's a vacuum actuated exhaust cutout. About halfway down where the downpipe is and where the cat would normally be. We chop that out and we put, basically it's a pipe that goes in, it has a little exit on it, and there's a little key fob that I click so I can open it whenever I want to, as long as it's not under vacuum, obviously, and close it whenever I want to. Obviously some other stuff like silicone piping, diverter valves, the Forge 071, I believe. Coil pack's been upgraded. Just, you know, basically a lot of the bolt-on stuff that I could do has been done to the car. As for the body kit, it's a Rieger body kit all the way around, which kind of gives it that R8 look in the back. We call it the baby R8 here in the States. That was probably one of the hardest things to do, because all the instructions came in German. Some of the back bumper is actually kind of glued and riveted on, believe it or not. And the front bumper has got mainly just the factory mounting points on it and stuff like that too. So that was probably the hardest job, is putting that body kit on. I feel like it's turned out pretty darn good.
So while we talk about how the car performs, have you had it on the dyno at all? Do you know what you're getting out of the car now?
So funny story. I actually last fall went to go take it to a dyno. They couldn't find a good strapping point because the car was so low to the ground. But let's see what we can do. And we needed to turn the traction control off. So I went to go push the button in, and just like on all Audi TT1s, the button just sank right through. I mean, I have a guess as to what it sits at, you know what I mean? We also put a custom tune on it. It's got 550cc Bosch injectors on it. But conservatively right now, I would say with the tune, 240. Conservatively, 240 horsepower, maybe give or take, you know. Torque's probably right around the same, maybe 240, 250, somewhere around there.
Okay, so you've taken a 180 and you've probably ramped up to the level that we class as the Quattro Sport in the UK. So you're probably rivaling the Quattro Sport now, which is great. Do you get to take the car out to many shows or many meets?
There are a lot of meets that are around here. They are starting to pop up, you know, because unfortunately in Washington, there's still, you know, 6 inches of snow out right now, you know what I mean? So the cars don't get to come out until at least April. Plan is to go to a couple meets this year, and hopefully, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of local coffee meets and greets and stuff like that every weekend here. So finding those are not too hard to find, but finding like European ones specifically, those ones are a little bit more of a challenge. But
so let's look at your wheels and tires and your brakes. I mean, that's obviously not standard either. You've obviously done some work there.
So we got the Wilwood race brake package for the front. The back is all still stock stuff. And then I got Konig 18-inch wheels on it with a set of, honestly, I think I put some cheap tires on it, to be honest with you. The plan is to actually, you know, maybe take it to the track sometime and stuff like that. I feel like when I do that kind of stuff, like big turbo, big radiator, when I get all that kind of stuff installed, I've been building this car since 2015, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
No.
So.
Those wheels, I think wheels definitely finish a car off, and they really, really suit the look of the car. I think they're a great choice for the car. So are there any mods that you've made that you think in hindsight, well, that wasn't such a good idea?
Ooh, well, honestly, so the only real problems I've had with the car are when I started changing out, you know, and making bigger accessories in there. One of the things I had the biggest problem with is coolant hose leaks. When I put Forge makes a coolant kit there, you can place all the old hoses and stuff like that with the silicone ones. And when I put that on the car, it ran great. However, my intercooler setup, one of the pipes, that lower one that runs along the bottom of the car, that radiator hose started rubbing up against the intercooler piping. So one day I'm out driving, and all of a sudden I go out. I was actually at a guitar shop here in town. Went in, grabbed some stuff, came out, saw there was a humongous pink pool of antifreeze sitting in front of my car when I came out. So immediately just crap. So I had to tow it back to the house. And so I would have probably bought a better intercooler. Not to say that the CTS one doesn't work great. It really does. It's just how, if you notice that they changed the routing, and if you look inside the engine bay, from one of the sides of the intercoolers, that one big charge pipe comes right up, right across the valve cover and stuff. And so I wish maybe I would have bought a different one, or maybe possibly one that was routed differently. And
of the jobs that are left to do, as you said, it's been a project of the last 8 years. Yeah. What would you say that you've got planned upcoming on the car?
Well, here, I'll show you one thing I haven't showed anyone yet, but I actually have a list. Now, pardon my horrible artwork, because I'm not an artist, but I've had this list on my board for about 8 years. So these are the parts I already have or are going to be installed. So I bought a newer radiator, a quick release steering wheel. I also got a baffled oil pan with a new pickup line, because you know how those like to get clogged.
Absolutely right, yeah.
But this is the big turbo I'm hoping to go for maybe in the next year or two, and then maybe some seats. That's the other big thing I want to change on it. But I might do rods, because I really don't want to put all that money into it and then have a grenade. So I might do rods at the same time, but pretty big job. So again, thankfully this car has always been running too. I mean, this car doesn't sit. I mean, it goes, you know, and I drive it when the weather permits, usually about once a week, if not twice a week. Just go out and stretch its legs out and stuff. So it definitely doesn't sit, that's for sure.
Andrew, thank you so much for sharing your car with us this evening. It is a truly fantastic item. Visually amazing, and by the sound of it, you've made some massive performance gains as well. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that with the viewers tonight.
Absolutely. And yeah, thanks again for having me on, man. Really enjoy the show. I really hope to see more episodes come out, man, because I really do enjoy them. So cheers. Good to talk to you, man. And thanks again for having me on, man.
Yeah. Andrew, thanks once again for sharing your car with me here at the channel. It really is a unique example, and I love those Lambo doors. That body kit too, well, that's just fantastic. So if you too would like to feature your car on TT Meets TT, then please do get in touch with me at the channel at the address on screen now. Like what we've seen today, then please do give this video a thumbs up, and also think about subscribing to my channel if you're not already done so, where you'll find a whole host of content on the Audi TT Mark 1. As always, thanks for watching, and see you soon. Take care.